Logo women's hockey, you have your WIAC championship.
Twice as nice. River Falls have repeated.
UW River Falls Falcons, the Blue Goals of UW Eau Claire.
Good evening all and welcome to the final Faceoff presented by Blunation. As always, joined by Gary Barta, I'm John McClain. Tonight we're joined by two men who have seen the ups, downs, and all-arounds from the entire 2025-26 hockey season from the Mike Sullivan press box and numerous other barns in the area. To my right, head play-by-play voice of the Blue Goals this season, Aiden Peterson, and to my left, a man who dives into stats more than his own homework, first-class analyst Michael Watson. AP, Big Mike, pleasure to have you guys with us tonight.
Yeah, pleasure to have us here. I mean, it's the greatest time of the year is tournament time, and with the chance to go to what seems like the national tournament, being how the at-large bids are going, the winner of this game, River Falls is pretty much set to go anyways, but if Eau Claire can pull it off, it looks like they might have a shot to sneak in.
And with Eau Claire having so much on the line, it's crucial, especially after a successful season they've had so far.
Yeah, speaking of that successful season, Michael, I know we all were watching all year long. They started off extremely strong. I mean, going into the series with Augsburg, they were 6-1, and the only loss coming to St. Olaf in a 2-1 battle at home, and that was a heartbreaker to watch. And before they lost to Augsburg, that was the only time they've lost 2 games in a row, was that series with Augsburg, that weekend's the split series. And since then, they've been absolutely dialed in. Only have 2 losses, well, 3 for that last regular season loss to River Falls. And then throughout the tournament, they took care of business to Stevens Point, 4-0 and 5-0 respectively, and then they're looking forward to River Falls and Hunt Arena this weekend.
You take a look at the River Falls side, they've had a dominant fashion as they have been the dynasty in D3 women's hockey for a long time. 26-1, that only loss coming to the Blue Golds early on in the season, where the Blue Golds won that game 3-0. But you first in the WIAC, first in the regional rankings, first in the country, you average that 5 goals a game mark, as well as we'll dive into some stats later as well, but being able to be as dominant as they are, having 4 scorers over that 30-point threshold, as well as Megan Goudreau and company being able to take care of business with Jordan O'Kane and net. This River Falls team has been dominant and facing up against 9 ranked opponents this year, going 8-1 with that only loss coming to the Blue Golds. That's going to be crucial coming to tournament time.
Yeah, I mean, this is a team who they've been good forever. It seems like, ever since all of us entered to Eau Claire, it's been UWEC, UW River Falls. Actually, if you were here in 2014, it was still UW River Falls, UW Eau Claire. It has not been a different O'Brien's Cup final since the start of the WIAC in 2014. It has been dominated by UW River Falls. This year, however, like John mentioned earlier, the Blue Golds finally got the crack into the armor of the number 1 UW River Falls Falcons. It was the first game of the year, 3-0 in Hobbs. It was back in November 22nd. It was a game where, maybe not a lot of people were watching. The volleyball team was in their big run. It was the same night that the volleyball team beat Wittenberg. But if you were watching, you would have seen the resurgence and almost showing of Campbell Friggi. We'll talk about her specifically later, but the team, they were clicking, and it was almost destined to happen. As soon as the second one went through and the Blue Golds were up 2-0, and that defense held strong, UWEC, they're not usually a team that knocks off River Falls. We said it earlier in the year, maybe this is the year to do it, but man, that first win kind of just, set that season up for a good one. Aiden, you've got something.
Yeah, and just a reminder that for anyone that did watch that game, it was 0-0 going into that third period of play. It was not at all like a runaway game for Eau Claire. Yeah. They scored early in the third period with Madison Krumholz. She did that one all by herself, and then Kira Bolt able to put one in from the point. I mean, that was still not even halfway through the third period. So you're looking at 10 minutes of solid defense for Madison Krumholz, ends up putting in the empty netter to seal it 3-0. But since that game, the Blue Golds, if they're going to win this weekend, that's the type of performance they need to have, especially on the defensive side.
Yeah, but then you find the second game. This one, a big gap between the first two games. November 22nd, now all the way to February 7th. The Blue Golds now go to Hunt, and they jump out to a 3-0 lead. It is looking in Blue Gold territory like we have a chance to win the regular season and have the number 1 seed and have River Falls come to our barn when the WIAC Championship happens. But 4 unanswered. In the second period alone, made it 4-3. River Falls put one in the last few minutes of the third period to make that 5-3. And that really kind of showed the prowess that UW River Falls has. When you're losing 3-0, any normal team, they're most likely they're gonna hang their heads, especially when you're the number 1 team in the country. You're not expecting to be trailing yet to a team that did beat you 3-0 for the first time. But if you're down 3-0 again to this team, you're thinking in your head, man, this is a team that has our number. To answer 4 back in a row, that is an impressive feat. UW River Falls kind of had their way. The third game kind of felt like it was, a toss in the air. All the hype was around this game. The men weren't playing. It was that Friday where all eyes were on the Blue Golds. Excuse me, it was a Saturday. The Saturday where all eyes were on the Blue Golds at 2 o'clock. And unfortunately just didn't go the way of UWEC. It was early. It was often for River Falls. And the Blue Golds, they got themselves back into it, got it to 3-2. But unfortunately, the offense just kept clicking. The firepower, Megan Goudreau, as we mentioned, just stacking points on top of points. An impressive player, but all in all, an impressive team that this WIAC championship feels like it's going to be just a little bit closer than we've seen in the past few years. Because, last year, towards the end of the season, you had 7-1 games towards the end of the regular season where, you walk into the WIAC championship like you just lost 7-1. This is a team that the Blue Golds can score on the Falcons. It all depends on the defense. But Aiden, when we take a look at the Blue Golds, how important was the early win against River Falls to set up their confidence and set up a relatively rough schedule the rest of the way?
Yeah, I think it was incredibly important. You get that win, especially that win came, granted it was a couple weeks after Augsburg, but before that it was like, you look at the WIAC being only 5 teams, and the other 3, like you said, it's really just been Eau Claire and River Falls dominating this whole time. Those teams aren't necessarily slouches. The women on January 23rd they beat Superior by a score of 4-3. So they're playing in close games, and while the box score might not show it, when you actually sit and watch the games, it's actually a lot closer than it seems, especially when playing. And when you talked about that last game against River Falls for the Blue Golds, that game could have been decided many different ways. There was probably, me and Michael were on the call for that one, and probably 3 or 4 posts hit by Eau Claire in the first period, and it easily could have started out up 2 or 3-0 to start.
And there was one thing that really killed the Blue Golds' momentum. Anytime you feel a momentum shift, they would take a tripping penalty or some sort of minor penalty that put a River Falls team that has that 46% power play conversion rate, which I'll talk more later down the line, but you have a team that's dominant on the power play, that's faster, almost more athletic than that Eau Claire team, that you give them extra chances where it's 5-on-4, and they even went down 5-on-3 at one point. You can't unbury yourself from moments like that.
Mm-hmm. I think in this game, again, you look at these two sides and how they played each other, and like you said, the margins were a lot wider last year. You had a couple of 9-zips, 9-2s, especially in the latter parts of last year. That was pretty damaging for Eau Claire, but now coming back and pulling back 3 now consistently in these games, your offense is now clicking against that baseline test now. But if I'm a betting man, I'm going to say this first period goes scoreless in that championship game. We saw it in Game 1 earlier in the year at Hobbs, and we saw it again with this Game 3 now back at Hobbs just earlier and a couple weeks ago on the 21st. But it's all to play for now. It's all to play for in the tournament, the cup, conference bragging rights, all of the above. But when we return, Eau Claire is seeking their first cup victory in 7 years at guess where against guess who? The Falcons in River Falls. Eau Claire's analysis is up next on the Final Faceoff.
Welcome back to the final face-off, where Aiden will take back over on what the Blue Golds need to take home their first O'Brien Cup since 2019.
And for these Blue Golds, I mean, you look at the team up and down the board, and on paper they look great. It's a great team. They're top 10 for a reason. And the couple things that I can pick out, at least on team stats, is just you look at they're averaging just under 40 shots a game, and we've seen them put up quite a bit more than that. But when you're averaging 40 shots a game and you get the 4 goals, that's all right, 90% conversion rate. But when you're playing a team like River Falls, you need that to become higher. That needs to go up, and you're not going to get the 40 shots on goal. That's not going to happen. This team is extremely defensively strong, and you need to, for sure, capitalize on your opportunities. And that goes into my first key of my 3 for these Blue Golds going into this game is the offensive efficiency. That's something that needs to happen. They need to put the puck in the back of the net early and often if they want to beat the Blue Golds on Saturday, the Falcons on Saturday. And like all the goals, they're doing a great job as far as passing goes. They're making nice passes, but it's got to be crisp. We've seen it a couple times. Me and Michael, especially in the booth, we look at each other in intermission. They're like, okay, that was like solid play. But the one thing that always came back up was penalties and passing. And they've been all right as of late as far as taking penalties. It seemed like both teams early on in the year love to sit in the box for whatever reason, but they've been better as of late as taking less penalties. Their penalty kill and their power play are both respectable, 22% conversion rate on the power play as well as just under an 85% on the penalty kill, which both are very respectable numbers in their own right. But then you look at a team like River Falls, as Michael already mentioned, with 46% power play conversion, that penalty kill is going to have to go to work, especially if you take a penalty. And that segues to my second key of the game, which is defensive stats. They're only giving up 1.3 goals a game. That needs to stay consistent. If you want to keep winning games and especially have the opportunity to play more games, you have to win on Saturday. So if they can stay defensively strong and really stay in that shape, stay with whoever they're playing defense against, individual players-wise, and watch out for Megan Goodrow. If you can keep the puck off of her stick and Sophie Hess's stick, you're going to find success. They don't have a lot of yes, they do have 4 30-point scorers, but 2 of their 30-point scorers are in the 50s and the 70s. So if you can keep that to a minimum, you're going to find success in this game. And that kind of goes back to we're just working back down the ice. My third point is Campbell Frigge. We said we talked about her a little later. Now's her time. She is second in the nation in shutouts with 8 on the year. As far as her individual stats go, excuse me, she's got there we go. We've got a .396 save percentage, extremely respectable, a 15-6 record along with a 143 goals against average, and this is all coming in her freshman season. And I think that's mainly the point that we've hinted on all year in the broadcast is that she is a freshman. We've seen her make outstanding saves and play like someone that's been in college hockey for 3 seasons now. She looks like a senior goaltender, and she's playing out of her mind as a freshman, which is extremely both good for Blue Golds hockey and good for them right now. If she can be on her game and keep River Falls off the board like she did in the first game that they played this year, there's no reason you can't see the Blue Golds coming back as O'Brien Cup champions.
Aiden, how rare is it to see, a goalie like Campbell Frigge in her freshman year? The WIAC, it's always called, the SEC of D3. I feel like in hockey, it doesn't get as good of a reputation as you might see in basketball or football. But to see a freshman goalie in the WIAC, how not only rare, but how impressive is that to be, arguably a top 2 goalie in your conference as simply just a freshman?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think she is the best goalie in the conference. And to go back to what you were saying, it's extremely impressive and extremely rare. You don't see, you get your 4-year starters every once in a while. We've seen it on the men's side. We saw Max Gujar, and that's another incredible goaltender. Played out of his mind last year, especially in the WIAC tournament. You look at a guy like Alex Proctor and Stevens Point, they 4-year starter there. They happen, but to see one of this caliber is absolutely insane, especially as a freshman. To come in and win 15 games with only 6 losses, and granted, she didn't start every game. There were a couple games on the road where they gave the other goaltenders a couple of starts. You don't when you have someone that's that hot, you don't often see that, but you give them a break run. She didn't start 5 of those games, and 4 of those 5 games ended in shutouts. So with the Blue Gold, and that's all on the Blue Gold's defense as well. They played extremely well, but you had 4 more. She's at 12, 3 ahead of anyone else in the nation. if you're talking about shutouts. But as far as how rare it is and how much of a raw talent she has, it's absolutely insane. Her positioning is great. Her reflexes are great. And she is able to make those crazy saves that you would only see on the ESPN Top 10. I mean, there is not a save out there that she can't make, not a puck that she can't get to if she's in position. So it's one of those things that to look at for Blue Gold's hockey going forward, you're looking at another 4-year window where you can take home an O'Brien Cup.
Yeah, and one last thing. Just talk to me about some of these seniors that the Blue Golds have on their roster. You know, there's a couple. There's not too many, but the seniors that they do have, they are critical pieces to this roster. And how does that senior leadership kind of help them against a team like River Falls, who not only are they also, you know, upperclassmen heavy, but they're a team that has that national pedigree, that has played in multiple big game after big game after big game.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the seniors, 3 stand out to me the most, that being Sam Moley, Kira Bolt, and Kylie Wiltz. All 3 are defensemen. Kira Bolt and Sam Moley often play together. They are extremely offensive. They love to join the rush, and I think that's a great thing to see because it shows the younger defenders, like, hey, it's okay to come up here as long as you're careful, and there's no shame in shooting the puck from the point. There's looking for a deflection in front. Nothing wrong with that. Excuse me. And then you look at Kylie Welch, just an absolute defensive juggernaut. She plays great defense, and kind of the opposite of what Kira Bolt and Sam Moley both bring great defense to the team. But when you look at their offensive play, especially this year and in years past, they are definitely more offensive defensemen. And Kira Bolt, while she has a couple goals of her own this year, she's good at distributing the puck. She's a great passer, but really good on the defense side. You're going into the corner, oftentimes she's taking that puck with her. So it's just the senior presence on the ice is just extreme, and the leadership has been amazing, especially when you start in that defensive core. Rather than not that it's worse, but rather than having a lot of underclassmen defensemen, and then you have a couple seniors that are leading the way on the forward side. When you have it distributed well or more focused on the defensive core, I feel like that if you have a defensive presence that's really strong, it's way easier for underclassmen and upperclassmen to play at that forward position and put pucks in the back of the net.
The Blue Golds are looking for their seniors to carry them to a conference title. After this, River Falls has already gone back-to-back. Can they reach paradise once again? We will find out after the intermission on the final Faceoff.
Welcome to paradise.
There's a media push. Stanwood's there to meet her. Stanwood again. Showtime, Stanwood. Set point UWO.
Hey, all night, beam up, bench with the roof up, still on this go.
Welcome back. It's time to look over what has made the Falcons so threatening in the past and present, but for UW River Falls to nail another in the future, what do they have to do, Michael?
Well, they're going to have to get out, score fast and early, as they have done a lot this season. They're not afraid to find the back of the net. 146 goals as a team this season, where if you look at Eau Claire, who is respectable, River Falls has blown them out of the water. Eau Claire has only found the back of the net 103 times. But a lot of the scoring has come from the big four from River Falls. Megan Goudreau, basically going to have a triple crown if there was a triple crown in hockey. Leads the nation in points per game, assists per game, and goals per game, with points per game almost at 2.5 a game. So just under 1.5 goals per game and 1.5 assists. So Megan Goudreau not only knows how to find the back of the net, but also knows how to dish the puck. You have Sophia Hess, standout freshman. We mentioned Campbell Friggi. Aiden, you mentioned Campbell Friggi for the Blue Golds. Sophia Hess is the big freshman standout for the Falcons, second in the nation for goals, as well as second in the nation in assists and points per game. So very much out there for that big duo of Megan Goudreau and Sophia Hess. But then you got McKenna Ori, 34th in the nation for goals per game with just about half a goal a game, as well as a team that's just under 60% from the dot. So they control the dot. They force those teams into like those small mental errors, as the Blue Golds unfortunately dealt with earlier in the season. That game 2 comeback was fueled by giving up minor penalties as well as giving momentum, extra possession, passing not being crisp in that game 2. Then you go to game 3 and a bunch of the same. You start the third, you're trying to fuel a comeback, and you take a 2-minute minor, and River Falls goes down, and that's their second power play goal of the game. So if you're River Falls, you got to score fast and early, as well as force teams like you have all year to make those small mental mistakes.
And Michael, this is a team who, I mean, obviously they are the juggernaut. What is the thing that the Blue Golds did so well that, you know, got them to that 3-0 win? Because, you know, you run through all that stats. You are the stats guy. It seems like this is a team that just simply is unbeatable. It's a team that where you feel like you line up across from them any given night, you maybe have a 10% chance of coming out on top. You know, so what did the Blue Golds really do in that first game that kind of set them up for that victory?
And a lot of that was from the defensive end. Obviously, Campbell Frigge played out of her mind, but she got a lot of help where she didn't have to face as many shots. You mentioned Sam Mully, Kira Bolt, and Wiltz all standing out. They were all they're shot blocking. This Blue Golds team is a shot blocking team in the top 50 for blocked shots as well, because they've had just under 300 shot blocks on the season, which averaged to about 10 a game. And that River Falls game, they had around that 12-13 mark. So saved Frigge a lot of effort and time with blocking as many shots as they did against the Falcons, and that's why they got that 3-0 victory. And
we talk about the one person you think about when you look up River Falls hockey, it's Megan Goudreau. You mentioned the Triple Crown, all the stats. Just tell me how impressive that is for a season, because you look at River Falls in the points column, 1 and 2 is River Falls. How impressive is that to not only have 1 and 2, but to have a player like Megan Goudreau on your team?
It's a game changer. You get Megan Goudreau, who, to also touch on it, is 4 points off of the single season record, which was set all the way back in 2002. So you have a player that's almost setting national records, and not only as a senior, she's that big senior leadership for the team. So kind of I see it as Sophia Hess getting that game time experience from the leadership from Goudreau. So not only having the leadership aspect, but having the chance to put your 2 goal scorers up next to one another. That is the big game changer for River Falls.
It's like being a red shirt almost, but you're on the ice and you're playing with arguably what could be the greatest women's college hockey player of our lifetimes and maybe of all time. That's what Megan Goudreau could have going on here if she gets 4 more points. And not only does she have the WIAC championship, the Falcons are destined to make the playoffs. She's got a couple more games to do it. So, Michael, we take a look at this matchup. What are some of your keys to the game that, you know, if you're River Falls, how do you knock the Blue Golds out of it? And if you're the Blue Golds, how do you get yourself holding up that cup at the end of the night?
Well, for both teams, especially the Eau Claire, you need to score early. You need to take the momentum and all the energy you got from that 3-0 victory earlier in the season, and for that through 2 periods, down and hunt for that second matchup and score early. The River Falls team know how to bounce back, but they are very disciplined. So you score early for Eau Claire, but if you're River Falls, you just got to play smart. You got to not only find the back of the net, which they have found 146 times, but you also need to force those mental errors and execute. That's what leads me into my next one, is execution. River Falls is the best at capitalizing off mistakes. Though if you take a penalty, they're more than likely to find the back of the net with that 46.3 conversion rate. But you force those mental errors. That's why they have so much success, and they've built off that through this almost dynasty, it feels like. And if you're UW Eau Claire, you got to put pressure and back up Frigge. You got to be in that 12 to 15 shot block mark in order to not only preserve Frigge's energy, but just keep those shots away from that paint area where River Falls will light the light, for lack of a better term, if you do not execute there. And for both teams, you got to play clean, because we mentioned River Falls on the power play. UWEC is also in the top 10 for power play conversion, coming in with this game with a 22.2% conversion rate. So both teams, as long as they play clean, there's a good chance that they'll come away on the victorious.
And I'm glad you brought up the power play and the penalties, because that actually leads into my final question. The Blue Golds, in the 3 games against UW River Falls this season, they've only had 5 power play opportunities in their 3 games. 4 of those came in that final game at Hobbs. Just what does it mean for a team that, you aren't giving up many penalties at all? And, in the sport of hockey, how important is that you're not giving up those minor penalties and going down a man?
It's crucial because obviously you're down 2 minutes, and I'll talk on both sides here. You have River Falls, who knows how to kill it off. They're in the mid-90s on the penalty kill percent, around that 92, 93% mark. But Eau Claire, that's the momentum shifter we talk about. River Falls forces that and creates a lot of opportunities off of the power play opportunities, as I'm tongue-tied here, but no, being able to capitalize and not give up a power play is going to be crucial here.
And lastly, we'll just go around the horn really quick. The score predictions for this weekend. Aiden, we'll start with you.
Oh, Lord. For this weekend, I anticipate the same thing as you, John. I think it's going to be scoreless through 1. Honestly, this is a game that has a possibility to end 6-3 like it did a couple weekends ago, or it has the possibility to be a 1-0 game. There's no real way to accurately predict this score. If I had to pick a score to go with, it would be a 3-2 overtime thriller. I think that one of these 2 teams is going to come out hot. I think they're going to score 2 in the second period, and I think it's going to be 2-0 after 2. The other team, whoever scores 2, who didn't score in the second period, they're going to net 2, maybe 1 late, to make it either 3-2 or it's going to be 3-2 in overtime. I can't tell you who wins.
He sounds awfully confident. I think I should call my bookie right now and make sure I lock that in. But I'm going to go with something similar. I think it'll be a 4-3 game. I can't really tell you who will run away with it, but I do like the scoreless after 1. I think they're going to trade a little bit. I don't think either team is going to jump out to a big lead. The regular season is such a different animal than the postseason in every sport. I feel like it goes without saying, especially on the ice. Crazier things have happened. But I think it's going to be a pretty back-and-forth game, a shootout. But I think it comes down to whoever can hold that back line stronger. The goalies are pretty much non-negotiables. We know they're going to show up and show out come Saturday afternoon. But I think whoever has a better back line performance and can shut down those top scorers, I think that's who runs away with it.
All right, I won't chicken out. I'll give you a winner. I know that's what you're here to know. Unfortunately, I have 4-2. UW River Falls. I think the Blue Golds will give them a game. I think realistically, I could see them, being up 2-1 after 2, and just kind of things we've seen throughout the entire season. I think River Falls, I think they're just a dominant team. I think they're a team that's well-rounded. They're well put together. They're built from the top down. I think it's 4-2 River Falls. Does that allow the Blue Golds to sneak in through an at-large? Unfortunately, I don't think so. But, I'm usually very, very wrong with my March Madness brackets. So I'm picking the River Falls Falcons, and you're probably happy about it if you're a Blue Golds fan.
I'm with Gary. My March Madness bracket, I'll put the preface out there, also terrible. But I'm with Gary on this one. I'm going to go with 5-3. It'll be 4-3 around that crunch time, and then River Falls will net an empty netter to make it 5-3. But like you said, Gary, it can go literally any other way. And as John Hughes said, it's March. Anything can happen in March.
They want a winner. I think we have to pick one.
You have to.
You have to pick a winner.
All right. Well, why don't you go ahead?
3-2 Blue Golds in overtime.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
You know what? Yeah, we'll give it blue and gold. We'll give it blue and gold. We'll give it blue and gold. I mean, we got the blue on the background. We kind of have to,
Yeah, I think
you got to have faith. You got to have a little bit of faith.
Ripping the suit.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Mini Hoven, they call me apparently.
Mini Hoven.
the look, not the personality, the look.
We love you, Nick Hoven, and all the things we do for athletics. I promise that's endearing, but that's all we can hash out for the time being. The Real Deal drops puck at 2:05 p.m. out at Hunt Arena on Saturday. Watch live on the WIAC Network as both sides battle not only for a cup, but potentially a spot in the Big Dance. Blue Nation returns to regularly scheduled programming next Friday on mytv10.uwec.edu or on YouTube at UWEC TV10.
TV10 has been your favorite campus TV station for over 50 years, and our socials reflect reflect why we'll continue to deliver for 50 more. At UWEC TV 10 on TikTok and Instagram.
For myself, Gary, Aiden, and Michael, our main man holding it down behind the switcher, Mr. David Abel, those inside the studio and out of it, we love and thank you for your time here tonight. For the final face-off,
I'm Aiden Peterson.
I'm Michael Watson.
I'm Gary Barta.
and I'm John McClain saying good evening and until next time.